So in this video, I'm going to be revealing my top 5 money movies that you can watch that will give you timeless business lessons and life lessons, but mainly business lessons and lessons around money and people's behavior around money. Now, some of these are fiction, some of these are real, based on true stories, but any character, any story is almost always inspired by something from this world, and they depict this reality in a mythical way, and probably the director or the producer of the film sees life from that perspective. So you can learn tremendously from films and movies and TV shows at times, especially if you know which ones to watch. So I'm going to be talking about the top 5 money movies that I think are absolutely extraordinary and that helped me in various spots. So number 1 is the Godfather series. Okay, this is an absolute masterpiece. If you haven't watched it, you got to see it. So this is actually about succession. You know, it's actually about, there is a king and there is the boss of the mafia who has taken his family forward, and now the family is crumbling and the younger kids are not ready to take over his position, and the world is very vicious. You know, that world of power and money is very vicious, and everybody is mixed up. Policemen, politicians, everybody is mixed up, and everybody's pretending to be each other's friends, but at the back there is a lot of political dynamics going on. There are traitors in the family, and it's a very technical film. And this guy, Michael Corleone, is the father dies, and he is forced, his father dies, the brother dies, and he's forced in a position to take over that role. And he never planned to be a mafia or someone in a position of power. He just wanted to live a happy life and go into army or do something else with his life. But he's put into this role, and how he transforms and how he explores his dark side, and how he realizes actually that he can be very vicious and ruthless and wise and intelligent. And nobody could have predicted that Michael Corleone is going to take that kind of role. And that happens sometimes in life, that you are this innocent boy who is walking around holding hands with your girlfriend, like I was in London, and then you're forced to take a position for financial reasons, or to take your family forward, and then you discover a whole power and whole vicious side and a whole side that you didn't even know exists inside of you, and you turn out to be a leader, a figure of authority, and you go through this transformation. So it was a transformation from boy to man for the purpose of protecting the family. And while he was protecting the family, he realizes that as he takes those positions of power, some of the family members also start to get jealous of him and want to take him out. And the family, his personal life goes into turmoil. And it's pretty accurate for someone in a position of power, because they're all the time in their head thinking, who's gonna fuck me? Who's out to get me? And those powerful positions always have enemies, and they have jealousy. And people who are not in those powerful positions actually have a lot of freedom, because nobody's out to get them. They're not targets of anybody. So that it's about how he is first put into that position that he doesn't want to be in, and then when he's in that position, either he can get his head cut off, or he can get super technical and super strategic and take everybody out and go to war and basically acquire more and more power to maintain that position of the family and himself and his life and his children and everybody. So it's a movie on manhood, it's a movie on power, it's a movie about in some sense responsibility, but I don't want to say it, but he felt responsible for his family, and that's why he stepped forward in a very vicious environment, and he learned to tame the dragons of those, and he wasn't ready. So it was incredible movie that I thought, and I watched it very recently for some reason. It was my father's favorite movie. So Godfather series, and actually this movie saved me from a very tough situation, that happened. I don't want to get too much into detail, but there was a situation that happened in my company where someone was trying to plan a hostile takeover and I had to defend myself from it. So there was a technical situation that happened, and the movie Godfather helped me in that regard. Okay, so the second one is the Wall Street. Okay, I'm not talking about the Wolf of Wall Street, we'll get to that, but I'm talking about the Wall Street that was released in 1980s, I think 1986. And this is where the character Gordon Gekko is, and he's he provides timeless lessons in about capitalism. Okay, he's someone who takes over companies, and he uses his wealth to influence the stock market, and ultimately he tries to do a leverage buyout or a takeover, a hostile takeover of an airline. So it's a very beautifully made film about capitalism, and he has several quotes that are just mind-blowing. One of them is greed is good, and then another one is lunch is for weenies. The other one is love. When one of the beautiful models that he was with, she says that, oh, I think I'm in love with Charlie Sheen, I'm in love with him, and he says love is the oldest myth in the book, or the oldest myth in the history. There's no such thing as love. So it's a beautiful movie about capitalism, and it's based on objectivism, capitalism. It's a beautiful movie again. Now, number 3 is a TV show which is one of my favorites. It's called Succession, and Succession is about, if you want to learn about corporate governance, meaning how a very big company operates with thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of employees, and what are the levels of power and hierarchies of power, and this is probably a $20 to $30 billion group. It's based on Rupert Murdoch's media conglomerate. So it's based on a true story. Some people say it's not based on him. Some people say it's based on him, but probably it's based on him. There are several books written on Rupert Murdoch. If you don't know who it is, that's the owner of News Corporation. So all the major news corporations, news companies, he owns. Disney and even the Hollywood side of things, he owns a lot of that. So really the power to shape public opinion, the power to shape the minds of the people. So this is the time where he's at his peak, and tech is coming, Twitter and all these companies are coming, and the power is going to get disrupted. They would no longer have the power to shape the public opinion. This whole thing would get, disrupted. So if you're curious about the Matrix, you heard Andrew Tate talking about Matrix, right? So this is what it is. They controlled major media companies, and they had tremendous amount of power to shape public opinion, to turn election into one person's favor. And so it's about money, it's about power, but more than money, it was about the kind of power that they had to shape public opinion. And you see real-time negotiations about buyouts, and the treachery, and the jealousy, and the betrayal, and family conflict. And you might think that families are together when you're in a middle class family, but when you go on the top levels, it's very rare that families are together, because somebody always have more power, and the siblings get jealous, and they're after each other, and it's a little game that they play, and it's very Machiavellian and very treacherous environment. So it's very interesting if you can endure it. It has a lot of technical details, and it's very educational also on how a public company is run, and what are the obligations, shareholders, and reputation, and legal lawsuits, and a whole bunch of mess that's going on, and also a lot of fun and power and ability to influence people and having leverage over politicians. And it's a beautiful show. And then you've got number 4 would be Scarface. Now we are entering into categories about films that what you should not do. So Scarface, again, you would have seen it. I think it's based on Al Capone. He was a big drug lord and he rose to power from nothing, and then he fell down. So again, that movie is about what not to do when you're in a position of power, because he goes reckless. He goes really crazy and reckless and starts doing drugs and gets into a conflict with his business partner and starts treating everybody like shit. And so that's something that you don't want to do. And you will find yourself, when you take positions of power, it's important to maintain your ground and humbleness and be generous and understand that you will be misunderstood. You still got to be generous. You got to be wise. You cannot act out of recklessness or crazy greed, because that power will be taken away. So you got to do what's fair, what's just. And so Scarface is about what not to do, because he really goes on a crazy bender once he gets into a position of power. Number 5 is Wolf of Wall Street. Once again, what not to do. So he builds this whole empire based on lie and cheating people, lying to people. And he knows what he's doing, and because of that he knows that one day things are gonna get very ugly for him, and he cannot confront it, because he has built his whole success on lying to people, and he's too attached to that success now, and he's in a stressful situation and he's doing a lot of drugs. And I think that was the movie which shocked me. I saw the whole movie and I was like, I don't want to be like this. I'm not going to compromise on integrity, honesty, because that's what he did. And he acquired a lot of money, but that never provided him with security. And he built his whole life around this lie, and it all comes crashing down at the end. And he is doing a lot of drugs, and he gets into a lot of trouble. So it's trouble after trouble after trouble after trouble. So that's the bad kind of money that you don't want. You don't want to be associated with that kind of money. You want to stay away from people. It doesn't matter what car somebody drives, when you're doing something illegal. You want to stay away from that world, distance yourself, run away, but do something legitimate. Build a solid foundation based on legal grounds, honest grounds, ethical grounds, and your prosperity will last, for centuries. And that's the point of this channel, to create generational wealth, bringing your dreams into reality, not creating chaos, in your life. So you don't want to do that. So I decided I'm not going to do drugs. I'm not going to do anything illegal, because there is a time when you get caught and everything gets disrupted, and everything that's built on that reality also gets disrupted, and it's a shit show. So those are the 5 movies, and I've got one more bonus for you. If you want to watch a movie about fame and famous people, and how money is made through fame and the kind of leverage fame is, I would highly recommend watching Entourage. So that's an amazing show. If you're in a very low mood, down mood, you're struggling, I would highly recommend watching Entourage. I think it's 8 or 9 seasons, and it's just good from the beginning to the end. It's a happy vibe, and you will feel uplifted. When I was going through a lot of but I was going through a lot of challenges, I would watch that show, and it would make me feel good, and I had the ability to joke in difficult situations. So highly recommend Entourage also. So those are the top 5 movies and TV shows, plus a bonus for you. I'll talk to you soon.